investigation?
Hey, I have investigated so many suspicious deaths here in Washington and elsewhere. My my default reaction is not to believe anything the authorities or the medical examiners say. I've seen so many where they've covered things up, and they created this situation where people are. I think they're justifiably skeptical every time they see a spate of people, dying under suspicious circumstances. And again, I like to see what independently will come out in this. I'm certainly not going to believe anything out of the LA Medical Examiner's Office, because they have a pretty sorry track record when it comes to investigating deaths, including Marilyn Monroe and Bobby Kennedy, going back that far.
Sure, but I mean, for me, the telltale sign is within 2 hours. It was about actually an hour and 45 minutes. Within an hour and 45 minutes of Breitbart falling down the street and being taken to the hospital, they were saying natural causes, nothing to see here, move along. Before they even said heart attack, it was just natural causes.
Yeah.
When I see that out of the gates, that's when I get really suspicious.
Well, I mean, look at everything from Dr. Bruce Ivins up at Fort Detrick. There's all these convenient suicides also. The guy who committed suicide, he was depressed. When in fact, when you check these things out, these people had no motive to commit suicide. And like I say, I've dealt with dozens and dozens of these investigations. One is getting back to the original story. And I haven't written this yet, but I've heard it from some sources that John Wheeler, remember the former assistant to the Air Force Secretary that was found in a trash dump up in Wilmington, Delaware on New Year's Day?
Yeah, and he was seen desperately without his shoes, but in a sports jacket coming in on surveillance cameras.
Yeah, and he was acting disoriented, just like some pilots were acting disoriented after coming out of the cockpits being exposed to TCP. I've had a few people tell me that what he was getting ready to break was the TCP story, and somebody may have silenced him, because just think of the billions and billions of dollars in defense contracts that ride on this particular fuel additive. I'm still looking into that, but I have heard that from a few people on the inside.
Hey, let's go back to the anthrax, Patsy, and then finish up with the latest underwear bomb threat that they've manufactured. For those that don't remember, they had 3 different Patsies they said had done the anthrax. And they said it was made in a bathtub or a bucket and it wasn't weaponized. Turned out most weaponized, U.S. government strain, miniaturized, all the rest of this stuff. And we ended up learning the name of the Israeli-connected guy who's the main suspect who'd been in and out to get it. They grabbed the 4th Patsy. They take him to a government facility, and while in a solitary confinement area as a suspect at a mental institution, he takes medical Tylenol and kills himself. Yeah. So I guess they finally got a Patsy that they could pin it on by killing him. I want you to comment on that, Ivins, but then I want to move forward. Because we had our listeners, Kurt Haskell and others, on the plane seeing the U.S. government get Muttalib, the underwear bomber, 2 Christmases ago on the plane, because it later came out that he was correct that the U.S. government had done that on C-SPAN and congressional testimony, Undersecretary of State. Now they don't even have a Patsy. They just say, we found some underwear with a firecracker. We saved you. More intrusive screenings coming. Give your money to Chertoff and the scanner company. We don't know where he is or what's going on, but there's a guy out there. Thank God the CIA saved us. I mean, this is getting so ridiculous.
Well, they say they uncovered a plot in Yemen and the FBI is investigating. When it comes to the CIA and FBI, I don't think we've seen a comedy team like that since Abbott Costello and Laurel and Hardy. I mean, this just defies logic. Of course, yeah. What are we going to see now? All the perverts that work for TSA at the airports are going to now go through people's underwear. You're going to have to take your underwear off at the airport. How many more cases of these perverts groping people and doing weird stuff are we going to see as a result of? I don't believe the story, by the way. I think they're every time we hear Al-Qaeda last week we're told Al-Qaeda was out of business for all intents and purposes, and now we're told no, they're producing these more high high-tech means to commit terrorist attacks. I mean, this is, the inmates are really, truly running the asylum here.
Well, never before has it been so transparent, the war on terror is a fraud, where they say Al-Qaeda has pretty much been defeated, but the TSA is going to be on checkpoints on the highways everywhere, and the Army is going to be at the Austin Kite Festival, and we're going to grope you everywhere because you're the new domestic enemy. And it's basically anybody politically involved. I mean, this is clear tyranny. Why do you think they're accelerating the tyrannical takeover? I mean, clearly it's because of the engineered collapse, and that's the final question I have for you. What do you think of what's happening over in Europe? Because a socialist who promises more bailouts, that's exactly what the bankers want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we see what happened in France with Francois Hollande. He's already backpedaling now on these anti-austerity measures he was talking about during the campaign. But what's more interesting is what's happening in Greece, where the left party, where the guy is an admirer of Hugo Chavez, says we're going to tear up this austerity agreement with the bankers. And I think we're going to see more and more like that. We saw Italian local elections. Same thing, the left coming on very strong. Berlusconi's party is basically gone. And you've got this technocrat banker prime minister who sees the writing on the wall. When Italy has national elections, we could see somebody just like in Greece come.
Well, look at Monti. I mean, the ECB just installed Monti. I mean, that's world government by Goldman Sachs right there.
Yeah, and also the guy in Greece was installed by the bankers. I think this is their fear. And when we see the Army coming out with manuals about grabbing troublemakers and putting them in re-education camps and this type of thing, first of all, I think that, the mere fact we didn't see anybody come out and say that's not true, I think they want this fear to be instilled in the American people. But I also think that people are just going to have to start realizing that the government, like when I was in Grand Isle, those Cajuns down there, they've had it with the federal government. There's even talk about seceding from the rest of the country. The people speak a patois of French. And like one person told me that the British threw us out of Acadia in Canada years ago, centuries ago, and brought us here, and we'll be damned if they're going to throw us out of our homeland again. So people are getting justifiably irritated at all these machinations that are going on.
It's really incredible, and undoubtedly things get more and more crazy by the day. Imagine how wild it's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, Wayne. Where do you expect to see us then?
Well, 2 years from now, I'll tell you, I figure, from looking at the political tea leaves here that barring some catastrophe, I think we're going to be seeing another 4 years of Obama. Romney, it was interesting that Rick Santorum endorsed him in a late night email. Can you imagine? Endorses him in a late night email that obviously not many people read. Ron Paul winning the delegates in Maine and Nevada. I think Romney's got to be the most unpopular Republican candidate in recent history.
Well, look at how his own Bain Capital has given double to Obama what they've given to Romney. I mean, I think there's a good chance Romney is just like Bob Dole, an admitted ringer. Yeah. I mean, is this a total Don King boxing match like where we had the two cousins, both skull and bones, John Kerry, George W. Bush, 04?
Yeah, and look, even George Soros said, look, Romney, Obama, they're about the same. So this is what you get from the 1%. I think Romney's just in there as a placeholder to give us the illusion we have a choice. Very rarely have we had a choice in recent elections. This is just another illusion being put over on us by the one percenters out there.
Well, almost everybody I talk to, a wide field of experts. I see myself as an expert, but I like to talk to other people and get their perspective. Anybody who's actually done research knows it's good to have that council of people you talk to. But almost everyone I talk to thinks Obama is going to be reelected for a constellation of reasons. List some of those. Is it just because Romney is a ringer? Is it because he can't fire up the conservative base because he is basically a Republican version of banker man Obama? Or is it election fraud? What is it?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's the power of the incumbency. It's really hard to knock off an incumbent president. I think it was Lyndon Johnson once said that every time Air Force One touched down in a certain airport, that was worth 250,000 votes. So the power of the incumbency is something you can never underestimate. And the economy is terrible right now, and we see a lot of problems. But I think people will probably stick with Obama because now he's starting to sound like the Obama from '08, not the corporate-run Obama. So people are going to be suckered in on this guy once again. And look at the alternative, Mr. Bain Capital, that shut down factories and moved jobs out of the country.
So either way, the globalists win unless we just take back our local governments, and that's starting to happen. Wayne Madsen, WayneMadsenReport.com. Thank you for spending time with us.
Good to be with you, Alex.
Thank you. There goes Wayne Madsen. Again, WayneMadsenReport.com. Our sites are INFOWARS.com and, of course, PrisonPlanet.tv and INFOWARS.net, as well as PrisonPlanet.com. And we put a lot of time and energy in to bring you this information. We couldn't do any of this without you. We have a lot of enemies who fight behind the scenes to try to derail us and stop us, but thanks to your support and your prayers, we're able to continue. And we've got a lot of great entries for the INFOWARS Nightly News Reporter Contest to go through. Still more of those being published each day. Hundreds more to post. We're over 600, 700 good entries. And we're going to be playing some of those on the air in the next month or so. I'll try to pick a winner for both of those slots, one male reporter, one female reporter. And you can also, if you're watching this out on the web and like the information you're seeing or just support the First Amendment and appreciate the courage of my guest and crew, then think about subscribing. 15 cents a day, $5.95 a month. Get a yearly membership and get a big discount on that. Or do the 15-day free trial that we have running in perpetuity right now at PrisonPlanet.tv. You can also get there by going to InfoWarsNews.com. And the next few weeks, I'm going to be announcing the new social network that is now up and running online, but I won't tell you the URL of it. You can simply go to InfoWars.com, sign up for the free newsletter, the InfoWars Insider, there on the right-hand side, and we'll send you an email out to where you can go beta test it. I don't want to announce it to the full audience while we're still beta testing and things and tweaking the servers, but a great way to get people organized locally to take action against tyranny. Great job to the crew. Great job to all the researchers out there that help us with information and to all the other alternative media challenging the corporate prostitute media. Until tomorrow night, I'm Alex Jones signing off from the front lines of the InfoWar.